I move that the minutes of January 20th, 2015 and January 27th, 2015 be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that the minutes of January 20th, 2015 and January 27th, 2015 be accepted as written. Roll call.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold? Aye. Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved. Minutes accepted. Petitions and communications, Madam Clerk.
None this evening.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. I move that we deviate from the rules this evening and pull forward resolution number 2015-4.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that we deviate from the agenda and put forward resolution number 2015-12. Roll call.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold? Aye. Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved. We will deviate from the agenda and pull forward resolution number 2015-12. Resolution number 2015-12 by council as a whole. And the
Resolution
clerk will read it in its entirety.
Resolution number 2015-12, a resolution of commendation to Vincent S. Knickie. Whereas Vincent S. Knickie was hired by the city of Steubenville and the fire department on August 31st, 1984. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie was promoted to fire captain on July 20th, 1994. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie served as fire captain for 20.5 years. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie has showed exemplary actions in the display of initiative in his job performance. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie not only is an exemplary employee, but has served the citizens of the city of Steubenville in a very professional and congenial attitude. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie has been of great help and assistance to all who have come in contact with him. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie is a credit not only to the city of Steubenville, but to his family, acting as a responsible person and attending to the needs of all the citizens of Steubenville. And whereas Vincent S. Knickie retired from the city of Steubenville on January 25th, 2015. And whereas during his 30 years, 5 months of service, Vincent S. Knickie was a loyal and faithful employee of the city of Steubenville and carried out his duties in an honorable fashion so as to be a credit to his profession. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council of the city of Steubenville, county of Jefferson, state of Ohio, section 1, that this council does hereby express its sincere gratitude to Vincent S. Knickie upon a job well done as an employee of the fire department for the city of Steubenville, and they, along with the entire city of Steubenville, do hereby extend their best wishes to him in all of his future endeavors. Section 2, that the clerk of this council shall present a certified copy of this resolution to the said Vincent S. Knickie. And section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be in full force immediately upon its passage and approval by council, otherwise at the earliest period allowed by law.
Mr. Paul.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. I was trying to turn off the phone. Yes, I would like to talk to, commend Mr. Vincent S. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Paul, would you please make the motion for roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution by roll call.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that resolution number 2015-12 be adopted by roll call. Roll call.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold? Aye. Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved. Resolution number 2015-12 duly adopted. Mr. Paul, will you please come forward? And also, Vince, will you please come forward?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. I'm sorry. I was
I think part of the blame.
Vince, would you come up through here?
Yes, sir. Vincent S. Kniski. I didn't know that. Hey, but I'll tell you what. I congratulate you. I envy you too. I'm retiring. 30 plus years, that's a long time. I always said I want to retire, but I'll turn around here so maybe Mr. Goss can see and get a picture of you. I didn't bring a camera. You take a picture of Kenny and I. Okay, anyhow, Vince, congratulations to you. And many good years to you. Enjoy it.
Oh, that's right.
And yes, I know you do. With your quads and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
pleasure to serve the people of Steubenville. It's been a great career, worked with a lot of great people. We'll miss that aspect of it, but now when I get up in the morning, I know which job I'm going to, so I can always dress appropriately. I drive a truck on the side. And I'm going to try to enjoy my retirement, and thank you very much for this honor.
Vince, once again, on behalf of our citizens of the city of Steubenville, thank you for your 30 years of service to our city. And it goes without saying that without a doubt, you have been serving with a lot of fine men throughout your 30 years of being a member of the Steubenville Fire Department. And it was really, truly a blessing. I know you're looking forward to retirement, but you could ask for nothing better to serve with such a professional department that serves our people in our community. So congratulations on behalf of our citizens and your fellow members at the fire department. Enjoy your retirement. With that, we will now move on to resolution number 2000. If you gentlemen have other commitments, I was here for the resolution. You're welcome to leave at this time, or you're welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting. I'm sure you'll find it enlightening. We will now move on to ordinance number 2015-1 by the Finance Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its third and final reading.
Ordinance number 2015-1 as amended, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-75, the existing table of organization of the city of Steubenville.
You heard the third and final reading of ordinance number 2015-1 as amended. Is there anyone wishing to speak on it? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, members of council. Roll call.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Romagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold? Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved. Ordinance number 2015-1 as amended. Totally adopted. Ordinance number 2015-3 as amended by the Finance Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for a third and final reading.
Ordinance number 2015-3 is amended, an ordinance authorizing and directing the approval of expenditures without a purchase order over $3,000 pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.41.
You heard the third and final reading of ordinance number 2015-3 as amended. Is there anyone wishing to speak on it? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, members of council.
Question.
Roll call.
Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Mr. Romagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Berthold? Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved. Ordinance number 2015-3 as amended. Duly adopted. Ordinance number 2015-4 by council as a whole for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-4, an ordinance to approve and adopt current replacement pages to the codified ordinances.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-4. The third and final reading will be 2 weeks hence on February 17th. The effective date of the ordinance will be on March 19th. Ordinance number 2015-5 by the Planning Committee, Ms. Turtle, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-5, an ordinance adopting amendments to the City of Steubenville's FY 2014 one-year action plan and community development block grant program reprogramming funds.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-5. The third and final reading will be 2 weeks hence on February 17th. Effective date of this ordinance, if adopted, will be on March 19th. Ordinance number 2015-6 by the Planning Committee, Ms. Curdahl, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-6, an ordinance authorizing the city manager and urban projects director to advertise for bids for the 2015 Community Development Block Grant Repair subject to the right to reject any and all bids, authorizing entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, and authorizing payment thereof.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-6. The third and final reading will be 2 weeks hence on February 17th. If adopted, the effective date then will be on March 19th. Ordinance number 2015-8 by the Service Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Diarreta, Mr. Paul, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-8, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to advertise for bids for the Mall Drive and Fort Steuben Drive roadway improvements, city project number 2014-114, subject to the right to reject any and all bids, any rebidding that may be required, authorizing the entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute contracts as required.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-8. The third and final reading will be February 17th. If adopted, the effective date will be March 19th. Ordinance number 2015-9 by the Utility Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Diarreta, Ms. Curdoff, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-9, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to advertise for bids for the Loretta Drive water line upgrades, city project number 2014-126, subject to the right to reject any and all bids, any rebidding that may be required, authorizing the entering into said contract with the lowest and most qualified bidder, authorizing payment therefore, and to execute contracts as required.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-9. Third and final reading is scheduled for February 17th. If adopted, the effective date will be on March 19th. That will conclude the ordinances and resolutions before City Council this evening. We will now move into the report of committees, and we'll start off with Mr. Hall.
Yes, Your Honor. As Mr. Bowen brings up regularly, we would like to celebrate our successes. And I have a couple things under public safety and health. One, I have that the crime rate in the city of Steubenville has declined in 2014 in the following major categories: homicides, robbery, assaults, burglary, theft, and theft of vehicles. Overall, the crime rate over 8 major categories was down by 13% in 2014. 70 dilapidated, deteriorated, vacant properties are scheduled to be demolished throughout the city. Don't forget the West End, right, Bob? We need some out in the West End. I got one on Sunset again I need demolished. But other than that, yes, we're doing a good job there too. And we're continuing with that, right, Chris? He's on here, okay. All right. Yes. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Mr. Bull. Criminal activity in Hilltop neighborhoods declines since the introduction of the Hilltop Neighborhoods Strategic Safety Plan in September of 2014. Also, as part of our community policy efforts, the city has created the Hilltop Community Task Force, with the first meeting of this group scheduled for February 19th, 2014. During the first and second quarters of 2015, the police department will attend 10 training and 4 in-service training sessions. Don't forget, we have some money set aside in that safety fund, so we have more for the fire department and the safety. It's all, and even for this, the ASME employees. But we have a significant amount of money there for that. The city has installed 10 crime tip hotline signs in Hilltop neighborhoods. Okay. Also, this is something I brought tonight. I want to bring to the table. Bono. Bono, the dog, Mr. Villamagna's pet, which, thanks to all the people involved, the Terramana, the Gentiles, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Martello, Dr. Martello, I don't want to exclude everybody, I forget all the names, but I just want to say that Bono has been producing well this past week. I think it was on, what day was this, the Friday. There was a person on Euclid Avenue, and Bono was called to do the task, and 2 pit bulls. One went after Bono, and someone grabbed one, and hopefully Bono took care of himself, which I know he did. And then yesterday, Bono, he was conducting a drug buy nearby, and I won't say the gentleman's name. The task force reported, and they spotted a number of task force and took out off running. He went into the house, and Officer Cook yelled in, said that he wanted to bring, he was going to let the dog loose. 2 times he told him he was going to let the dog loose, and finally the gentleman came out. When I call him a gentleman, I don't know why I call him a gentleman. The suspect came out, and Bono again helped us in our apprehension of crime in the city. So it was very good. We need 2 more dogs. I don't know. But I love Bono. He was at my house, and that's Mr. Cook's, Officer Cook's favorite pet. His favorite pet is his dog's name, but he has 2. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
For the,
Sorry to carry on, but
No, great report, thank you. We'll continue on with committee reports to Mr. Bill Mack.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Mack.
Mayor, under miscellaneous, I have.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, a celebration of our successes for the year. Not quite as serious as Mr. Paul's report, but still very important to the city, and that's the Park and Rec Department. In the city this past year, we have come up with the funds that we are going to this year repair the pool slide, which has been something that people have been asking for a couple of years since we reopened the pool under our pool committee. Also, something that's been asked for a long, long time is the playground and repairs to the North End Park facility down there. We're going to put in all new playground equipment and patch the surface which the kids play on down there. And last, and probably the most expensive, well, not quite the most expensive, but very important, is the beautiful clubhouse at Bellevue Park has been renovated. We are waiting for the doors. They came in wrong, but the doors are the last thing to be done to that, inside and out. We've done a lot of work up there, and so once we get those doors in, we're going to have a little open house up there to let the public come and see what we've done. So a lot of positive things happening in the Park and Rec Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and I might add that when you had that open house at Bellevue, if you could invite the officers of Omega, the grant we received for the renovation was through Omega, and I'm sure they would love to see some of their success also. Thank you, Mr. Davis. We'll continue on to Mr. Dioretto.
I just want to reiterate what Councilman Paul said about the dog. I'm happy with it, and I also have good use with it in the near future. We're moving fast down the housing project, but according to me, we're not moving fast enough. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dioretto. We'll continue on to Mr. Johnson.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Kurdoff.
Yes, sir. Up under the planning committee, just wanted to, I will not be calling a planning committee within the next week. However, there are going to be 3 pieces of legislation that came out of the commission last night. So when it's introduced next week, I'll give a full explanation along with Chris of the 3 new ordinances that will be coming forward. If you have any questions on it, you can call me. I can't answer everything. You might be better off to call Chris, but I will do my best. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kurdoff. We'll continue on to Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor. Several things. First of all, I'd like to make a motion that after this meeting, we entertain an executive session to discuss our contract with the fire union, and I know Mr. D'Ambo's over there. So, there it is.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that following public forum, we will move into an executive session for the purposes of discussing union negotiations with the firefighters. Roll call.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Villagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kurtolo?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
So moved, we will move into executive session following public forum.
Your Honor, secondly, under finance, we announce a committee meeting next Tuesday at 6:30 here in our chambers. It'll be our monthly finance meeting. The agenda will be following here in the next few days. But at this time, I would like to thank Dave Lewis and his staff. They're working hard. We're in transition from Stacy into a new finance director. I'm sure we'll get a report on that. But I did want to thank you for all your time and effort. You're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you. And lastly, Mayor, as we are celebrating our successes, because we need to. We have a fine staff of employees, not only department heads, but employees that serve our department heads. And we've heard a lot tonight about them, but also want to talk about our utilities. And let everybody know that over the last few years, especially in 2014, the number of water main breaks has declined by 15%. And this is the first decline in breaks since 2011. So I think it's a great job, Chucky, you're handling both, so thank you. We have already now completed the Scioto Drive and Harvard Avenue water line replacement projects. This is the first time in the last 25 years that we have done a project like this, and the Scioto Drive has accounted for 18 breaks over the last 5 years. So we're really tackling the lost water issue. In 2015, with this lost water issue, we're also going to deal with Buena Vista Boulevard and the Loretta Boulevard water line projects. Buena Vista is scheduled to begin in February or March of this year, and hopefully by June it will be completed. The Loretta Drive project will go out to bid in May of 2015. Over the last 5 years, Buena Vista has had 20 water line breaks, and residents of Loretta have experienced 25 breaks. That'll be an additional 45 breaks that will help save lost water.
That's an emergency to me.
That is an amazing emergency. Last thing, the utilities, we have replaced, and I'd like to thank our fire chief. He's here. We've replaced 14 hydrants in 2014, surpassing our goal of 12 hydrants. And while the goal is to repair and replace another 12 hydrants in 2015, Tim and his staff feel that they could get that up to 20. So our chief has done a real good job, and also Chuck and everybody and who has been helpful in getting this done. So thank you there. Additionally, Bob Baird is here. I want to thank Bob and his staff. We've had really good fall, but the last 3 weeks we know the winter is here, and the staff has done a good job of keeping us safe and giving some of the kids a couple of days off, but mostly to our delays to get them in school. So Bob, thank you for that. Additionally, his staff is going to undertake and has worked on so far 78 streets with potholes and roadway repair throughout the city. So in 1 month, he's attacked 78 streets to help fix it. Very good job. Under economic development, just a few things here. First of all, the Downtown Revitalization Public-Private Partnership has been established. We had our first meeting in January. It went very well. We're focusing on establishing a special improvement district in downtown streetscape improvements. Our next meeting will be March 4th at 5:30 p.m. in the Publicity Room. The street sweeper, I don't know why it's under economic development, but it's going to help with economic development. But the existing street sweeper, to say that real fast, is anticipated to be in service beginning in May. The new one will arrive within a 4 to 6 month time frame and should be in service by September of this year. And lastly, the city has created and is currently implementing a downtown revitalization strategic plan and an oil, gas, drilling industry, bulk water sales strategic plan. Okay, there you go. That's something we wanted. We're working hard on this, and as the citizens can see, our employees are working really hard behind the scenes, and I hope everyone appreciates them, because I surely do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. That will conclude the report of committees from the members of council. We will now move into the report of the administrative officers, and we'll start off with our city manager, Mr. Baldwin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to touch upon some of the items in the administrative officer's report that I handed out before the meeting. Maybe some of the other items that we council people haven't touched on this evening. Try to roll through these fairly quickly, but I want to linger a little bit because I do think that they are important to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Talk a little bit about waterline projects. We're in the planning stages of the Aberdeen-Bryden East Carrollton waterline project. Over the last 5 years, and this might be the emergency of emergencies, Willie, the residents in this area have experienced 53 water line breaks. So I think that is a project of great priority, and we're going to be working on the design of that and moving forward with that as soon as possible. Just a quick note on the update of our commercial meter phase of the meter replacement program. We did a random selection of 4 accounts, our commercial meters, comparing usage of December 2013 with December of 2014, and while it was a random selection, it did yield an average increase of 15%. So whether we'll see that throughout all of our commercial water line, commercial meter recipients or not, time will tell. But obviously, there was a definite need to upgrade those and replace those water meters for those commercial customers. The residential meter phase of the meter replacement program began in January, should be completed during the third quarter of 2015. We also touch a little bit on the staff, and particularly our water and sewer billing office. Quite honestly, they've been much more aggressive in 2014 as compared with past years in the area of placing liens on properties for unpaid water bills. They have placed liens on 64 active and 200 inactive accounts for unpaid water bills in 2014. That's consistent with our policy of holding the property owners ultimately responsible for the unpaid bills associated with their properties. And I would say that out of a customer base of approximately 7,500 accounts, it's certainly apparent that the city's delinquency rates have come down significantly when you look at a total of 64 active and 200 inactive accounts that needed a lien to be placed. In addition, I want to make perfectly clear that there's been an issue, I think, or maybe some misunderstanding. Hopefully I can clarify that. But property owners, landlords, their tenants, they do receive notices of delinquent water and sewer accounts after 60 days delinquent. So there really is, should be no one associated with those delinquent accounts that would be unaware of a situation after 60 days delinquency. Another point I wanted to bring up is that the city had an issue with curb boxes, as people may be aware. We have identified a total of 34 curb boxes throughout the city that are in need of repair. Certified letters have been sent to property owners to repair these boxes. And we're in the process of, if those aren't repaired by those property owners, then the city will repair those and charge the property owner. So that has been an impediment, quite frankly, to turning off service. We're going to remove that impediment. Also, we're replacing a section of University Boulevard sewer line that's scheduled to occur in 2015. Talking a little bit about public health and safety, I've talked often about the city's proactive neighborhood cleanup program, and that's been focused on the hilltop neighborhoods, as I think most of you know. To give you a little, or put that into a little bit of context, 54 city blocks in the hilltop neighborhoods were inspected for property maintenance and/or building violations as part of this program, which, as we may recall, began in May of 2014. The violations as part of that program were 228, or included 228 properties, consisting of 63 weed violations, 66 litter violations, 111 building violations, and 1 miscellaneous violation, which which I'm not certain what that was, but we'll have to look into that. And so I would state that the proactive neighborhood cleanup program continues into 2015 and certainly has yielded results in 2014. Upon passage of Ordinance 2015-5, which we discussed this evening, I just want to make certain everyone is aware that a residential streetscape character study and a right-of-way plan is a part of that and will be initiated for the Lay Bellevue and Pleasant Heights neighborhoods. Remember, when we talked about some of our crime reduction activities, we certainly want to emphasize the actions and the effective actions of our police department. But it's much larger than that. We need to, quite frankly, address the condition of our city streets and our right-of-ways, condition of pavements, curb, gutter, street trees, street lights, the environment that people live in. City can do its part by putting a plan together to work on the city right-of-ways. So I think that's will be a good step in that direction by that CDBG funds being available for that. The police department, we had an incident last week, and it was a very, very serious incident. Happened on Washington Street, and certainly myself, the chief, council members, none of us take those incidents lightly in any way, and they need to be eradicated, and we're working towards that. But I want to just, and looking at our police statistics, crime statistics, across the board in 2014, and I think it's something we should remember, and I think it should give us a good deal of hope for the future, in that our crime rate is down 13%. That's not insignificant. Is it exactly where we want it to be? Is it good enough? No, it's not good enough. Certainly a step in the right direction. Our police department, in talking to the chief and our captains, and through the ranks, our approach to crime fighting is to stress excellence in our day-to-day policing. Training of our officers, which we've been increased in 2014. Improving the police department fleet of vehicles, something we hadn't done for years. It needs to be done. If we don't have good fleet or a reliable fleet, we can't respond to crime the way we should. Improving our department facilities. That's why we're doing the feasibility study. To figure long term, what's the best way to expend our resources so that the police can be in a improved facility, and I believe that will improve their productivity and responsiveness and ability to do their job. Increasing patrols in certain hotspot areas. We've seen that in the hilltop neighborhoods. That's yielded results. Increasing officers. We're understaffed. The only way I know how to increase that is to pursue a COPS grant, spend the funds that would be needed for that. That would fund 2 officers at a ratio of 75% grant, 25% city for 3 years. And the grant runs out after that, but we shouldn't be talking about when the grant runs out or care. We should be building back to where we were with our police department a few years ago in terms of its size. Certainly, we've talked about funding. The general fund is stressed. We'll be talking about in months to come, how do we address that? Is it a safety wage tax? What do we get for that in terms of facilities, increased response time, improved police protection, and also our fire response time and protection? That's another area. And of course, it's much larger than this. When we revitalize our downtown, that will address or will make it less of a area where I think we'll see the kind of crime and incidents like we had last week. But that's the important part, not only from an economic development standpoint, but from a just a quality of life. That's what's imperative about improving our downtown and revitalizing it. So, certainly we'll be talking about these different items in the future, but again, I've got to say, and I guess in my opinion, and I would welcome the opportunity to talk to our citizens one-on-one or in any forum about this, but really, in my opinion, we're seeing results. We put a strategic plan in place less than a year ago. In my opinion, I do believe we need to stay the course and not pull back at this point and not go off in a new direction. I truly believe that's the best approach for us to reduce crime and continue to reduce crime in 2015. I won't go into too many other items. I think we've talked about many of the very effective roadway projects that we have coming on board in 2015. I do want to mention that we have certainly a successful business in our, actually 4 successful businesses in our River Rail project. As was reported in the newspaper, those 4 businesses currently employ 71 employees. That's a very good thing, and it's something we need to continue to encourage. Downtown, I mentioned a little bit the downtown streetscape. We have and are anticipating getting responses back from requests for proposals for that on February 17th. Again, one of the best things we can do to reduce criminal activity and improve our quality of life is to improve our downtown and revitalize it. So, Your Honor, that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Diarra.
Mr. Brolin, on the,
Yes, sir.
on the water, if someone owes a water bill, and the water is turned off, how, I presume the water stays turned off until the bill is paid. Is that correct? That's what I'm advocating.
I don't know any instance why we would turn the bill on before they paid the bill.
Well, in the past, I think there's been a past practice.
Somebody is aware of that, they should bring it to my
I
attention.
mean, once the water,
Make certain it gets
right, once the water is turned off, the bill, someone has to pay it, whether it's a.
It's a reconnection fee.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't want the place to be rented out or sold without that bill being paid.
So the only way they can do that is if the lien was already placed on their property, they're still responsible to pay it, but then it can be turned on by a new owner. Once that lien is satisfied and paid.
I don't want the water turned on unless the lien's taken off.
Correct, it has to be satisfied.
I want money.
Thank you,
I would concur.
Gary had something, you want to say something?
Here.
If a new tenant goes there, we'll lien the property, but we cannot deny a new tenant water service to that property.
Is that a law?
But the lien is on the
But the
property.
lien is on the property, and as long as the tenant does not owe us any money, then we can't deny them water service.
Again, as I mentioned, ultimately, the property owner is responsible for those bills, and that's going to stay on there until that's paid. But if somebody goes in and it's a new person or a new tenant,
The property owner should pay when he sells it.
well, sure.
You are before it rents it out. One or the other.
Mr. Bill Mack.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions here.
Thank you.
Before we put a lien on a property, do we send letters to them telling them we're going to put a lien on?
Councilman Vomagna, we're working on that process. As you know, we've been working with the auditor's office over at the county. So our system is improving. But I would go back to the point that I made earlier. After 60 days, the property owner knows that there's a delinquent bill.
Yeah, I
So
was curious if they.
ultimately, that's going to lead to a lien if it's not paid. So I do think that the onus is on that property owner to make certain that that's going to be addressed.
Well, to answer my question, do we send a letter or we don't send a letter?
Well, the answer to your question, Councilman Bill Magna, is that we have not, I don't believe, done that in the past, but we're working on that process, as you know, through our performance
Try
audit.
to get that started.
Absolutely.
Because I had some calls from people that had the liens, that's why I'm asking. They said, I didn't get a letter. And I said, I don't know if we sent it.
But again, they should be very much aware of
Oh, I
delinquent
understand
bills. That comes out after 60 days. If they were to be, or if someone were to state that they were unaware of it, I don't know. Perhaps they didn't get there in the mail. They wouldn't know about it.
And the second question is, at what point do we shut the water off? After, we're 60 days delinquent, at what point do we shut it off?
Well, I think it would vary with the, if it went to the review board, so if there was any payment plan. But I can double check on exactly when those letters go out, but pretty soon thereafter, I mean, 90 days.
One of the complaints was they said that they didn't, and I said, well, they said they didn't feel they shut the water off fast enough even before they put the lien on. And I said, well, I don't really.
Well, that's part of the reason we are fixing those curb boxes. That's the way to do that, so that we can have the ability to shut them off better.
So
But
in the
again,
future, we are going to try to shut this off a little bit sooner.
and again, I would say that delinquencies are significantly down. Significantly down with our, and that's due to our work in our water and sewer billing office. But again, I have to stress that property owners are aware of bills as they are delinquent and as they are growing. They should be very much aware of it.
Do we know at what point we shut the water off? Do we know that or we don't know that?
Well, again, it varies.
That's all I
Well, and again, it varies with the review board. I know that we put liens on it. After that process, typically when it gets into the 90-day realm, and then we go out and send out work orders to shut them off.
All right.
If I may suggest that the next utility committee meeting, maybe we can have the building manager, Lindsay, attend and explain that procedure. Mr. Bill Meyer, from my understanding, after the 60 days, both the property owner and the tenant, if it's a rental property, receives notice 14 days thereafter. Our crews are out there shutting the water off. So that should give you somewhat of a timetable, but I would rather the building clerk supervisor explain that new policy to you. So, thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Thank you, Mr. Bowling. We'll continue on now with our administrative officer's report to our law director, Mr. Rappella.
I have no report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Rappella. Once again, we'd like to thank the department heads for attending tonight's council meeting. One, signing up under miscellaneous reports, Mr. Bill Magna.
Yes, Your Honor. I have a question about the parking problem on South Street. And it's my understanding that the police department is issuing citations up there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, we are.
Well, then here, now this guy's been talked to, the owner of this property's been talked to, and the police department is issuing citations, and he still refuses to comply. Not fair. At what point does the city quit talking to this guy? Because I sat up there the other day, like I sent Mr. Ball the pictures of it in a tape, I sent it to Mr. Paul. 2 school buses had to turn around on South Street, which is hard for a car to turn around in the middle of the street. An ambulance came down South Street, and he had to turn around, and he had to go back. And he's been talked to, and we have ordinances here. 351.15, truck parking prohibited. No person shall park a truck, a semi-trailer, a pole trailer, moving and furniture van, agricultural tractor, trailer, commercial tractor or cargo, merchandise or freight-carrying motor vehicle on any street or alley within the corporate limits of the city, except for the purposes of unloading that vehicle. And then the next ordinance is 303.08. Police officers are authorized to provide for the removal of a vehicle under the following circumstances. when any vehicle is left unattended on any street, bridge, or causeway, and is so illegally parked so as to constitute a hazard or obstruction to the normal movement of traffic, or so as to unreasonably interfere with street cleaning or snow removal operations. Now, in that picture, it's clear that that plow had to go around that trailer because the trailer's plowed in. At what point are we going to tell this is the law and this is what you have to go by? Because it's not fair to make everybody out here go by the law and not this guy go by the law. And he's been warned. I mean, it's not like we're just going to go up there and do this. He's been told by several people, including the police department, not to park the trucks there. And you go there daily, traffic's backed up to Fifth Street, backed up to Hill Avenue. Are we going to tow the vehicles, or are we just going to let it continue up there and have people go around? The school bus complained because he can't see. The guy that was here earlier, he was here and said to me he was picking up his kids and he was trying to ease out from the stop sign. He couldn't get by, and he almost got T-boned because he was out too far. Something has to be done up there before somebody gets hurt or killed. What point do we enforce the law? That's what I guess.
Your Honor?
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Mr. Ball.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Chief McCaffrey pointed out, citations have been issued. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Of the board speaking with the property owner, the business owner, and impressing upon them the code and what they need to do, but also I would like to hear the businesses. I want to understand their situation. Would you talk about, I don't know if this is under the category of being business friendly or not, but I want to understand what has transpired. I don't have a great history on this issue, so I'm going to get up to speed quickly on it and talk to them. But we don't treat people differently or unfairly, so we will determine what needs to be done. I would like to hear his side of the story and why he's doing it, and then we'll take whatever action we need to take.
I get confused here because unless I'm reading this wrong, the law is clear that they're supposed to be towed out. Now, we say we're business friendly. We made a guy on University Boulevard putting up $1 million hotel take down 4x8 plywood because it was on the city right away. So we're going by the rules. And I got no problem with that. I have no problem going by the rules as long as they apply to everybody here. But and I want you to talk to him because I want him to understand. But I really don't care what his situation is up there because he's breaking the law. Because we could go the same route here and say, I have cars parked in my front yard because I'm unemployed and I'm disabled and I can't afford license plates. Whoever lives next door to me has to suffer. People come down that hill in wheelchairs and everything. Now, the law's the law, and he can have a good excuse. But unless I'm reading this all wrong, and then we have the right to say, well, he has a business there, so he's allowed to park on the sidewalk, but no one else is allowed to park on the sidewalk anyplace else, then it's a sad day here.
Your Honor?
Mr. Ball.
Thank you. Again, I'd have to reiterate, no one's being allowed to break the law. Citations have been issued. I simply want to talk to the business. And I talked to the business on University as well. And we treated that business the same as we would any other business. So I don't see anything inconsistent with what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. DiRetta?
Tim, talk to him, I'll talk to him, maybe he's interested in buying the property across the street, so maybe he can expedite purchasing property, so that'll get him off the streets. And I know government moves slow.
Thank you, Mr. DiRetta. Mr.
Yes, sir, that was one of last night's opinion. It will be addressed next week during the sunshine. Thank you, Your Honor.
Does anybody have their microphone?
Yes, that particular owner in that property has a long history with the city of Steubenville. Mr. DiRetta, you could probably recall, we did sell him the lot at 6 and South Street, and then there were some questions on the landscaping, the thickness of the pad that was necessary direct contact of Mr. Boland is in order and with a clear understanding of the action of the Planning Commission from Monday evening and the settlements of the council and the police department. And again, I agree, what is good for one is good for all. And we need to pursue, and if it's accommodating him with additional property growth, we can definitely consider that. But the law needs to be enforced. With that, is there any other under miscellaneous? If not, we'll move to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
My name is Mark Nelson, I live at 272 County Road 26. Just a quick thing regarding that water billing situation. With Mr. Rapella's explanation of how it works, from the landowner's perspective, if that landowner is a landlord, it is imperative that that water gets shut off immediately, or that bill will continue to climb in the landowner's name, who also is a landlord. If it's not shut off immediately, that's what it just sounds like. From the city's perspective, that landowner, if a lien is put against the landowner and the property is again allowed to get water, the city's going to lose in the lien process because that landowner could go on for 30 years and that bill will continue to climb and the landowner will die and the lien will get passed on to the children. Well, they'll end up in probate. It seems like the relationship between who pulls the account on the water is actually the situation, whether it be the landowner or the tenant. But like I said, the second part of that, I think from that explanation, it would end up in a long lien process with the water continuing the same cycle that we've been locked in. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, I will ask.
Vote Judge. John Massio, 567 Great Barton. I assume most of you saw it, maybe you didn't, the article, the Augustus article in the paper the other day with 4 local businessmen discussing the proposed expenditure of money to determine what the city needs and develop our image, whatever the whole program is. All 4 of them, all successful businessmen, were against it because their theory was, and one of them is here, we know our problems. We can figure out our problems ourselves. We don't need to pay somebody from the outside to come in and say, clean up your downtown, fix your streets, kill the weeds, or whatever has to be done. We know that has to be done. Thing is, we're not doing it. And it's a lot of little things that add up that make things go bad. You know, here, people come in here during the day, the court. That was over 2 weeks ago. I said, can't we fix this? No. Men's restroom, you got a door hanging off one of the stalls. I don't know how long that door's been off that stall. But these little things make this city look bad. I don't care if they're in this building or if they're outside somewhere. But if you want to go ahead and do something, you can get a group of local business people and members of council, whoever you want, and draft your own plan and save the money. If you want to spend the money, why don't you go and look into getting security cameras, for example, at the main intersections downtown, 4th and Market, 3rd and Market, 5th, Washington Street, 3rd and Washington, 4th and Washington, 5th and Washington, where some of the problem areas might be in the main business core downtown. That incident we had up there on 5th and Washington, the cameras have been there, we might have gotten the license plates of both those cars, and maybe been able to go ahead and determine everybody that was involved in that incident. We don't have any type of security downtown. Police can't be everywhere. I don't blame the police at all. They get a call, they respond as best they can. But nobody, no city in this country can put police officers on every single corner in their city. Can't be done. And I'm just saying, I agree with what these gentlemen had to say, and I think maybe you ought to take a look at it, and instead of spending money to bring some outsider in to tell us what we already know, put it to something that might be a little more beneficial to us and might be a better use in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Davis?
Yes, I'd like to respond to that. I read the article also, and I believe that it's this council's duty to research ways of helping this community. We come up with some, we do them. We come up with others, we scrap them. That did not come before this council for its third reading because we rethunked what we said, okay? We rethought, excuse me, I used the wrong term. That's essential. Anyway, my point is this. You elected us to come up with ideas and solutions. We are not going to be perfect every time. But I think in the past year, we have proven that we are doing things to the positive. No more giving us a chance because we're new. We're doing it. But what has been created over the past years is not going to be fixed in a year. So keep the faith and pay attention to all the meetings, not just the 2 or 3 that you come to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Is there anyone else wishing to
Your
speak
Honor.
to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address. Mr. Makeup, on this same subject or?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Thank you. To address Mr. Massey, Judge, our committee is going to go back and address that. And I just want to highlight a couple things. First of all, 2 of the members that were part of that article talked about the fact that they have studied branding. They are researching branding right now. One of those members talked to me after a council meeting a few days ago and believes that the city should pursue branding. Okay? Interesting. Branding is not picking up cigarette butt on the street. We should do, JJ.
I'm listening.
It's about where we came from, who we are, where we want to be, and why. You, Mr. Businessman, need to relocate in the city of Steubenville, not Wellsburg, not St. Clairsville, not Wheeling, not Weirton. It's about giving a unified message to our economic development team, Chris Petrozzi, our city manager, Evan Skirty, who's done a phenomenal job. Dr. Flack, you're on the Port Authority board, and he's done a phenomenal job. We want to give him as many tools as possible to help this city grow economically. And that's the reason why we are going to continue to talk about, discuss how we want to move forward. And definitely, the ideas of those 4 gentlemen, those 4 business owners, they were more than welcome to come to our economic development meeting and share their thoughts and ideas. We are open to that. Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address. Is this on?
I want to address what he said too, because we're celebrating here a lot, so I didn't bring no champagne tonight, but we got to sit down and we got to admit that we have a problem here. That's where we got to start at. Rebranding, I'm not against rebranding. I'm against it now. Because little things make big things. When someone throws a piece of paper here and everybody walks past it and no one picks it up. There's a commercial on TV where kids go in the bathroom and everybody's looking at the water and the girl walks by and looks at them and just shuts the water off. That's what we have to do here. We have to address the little problems so they don't become big. And Mr. Goss has given back to me tonight. Like the sign in front of the police department that's broken. That could be fixed. That should have been fixed. It's been like that for years. But we all walk by that every Tuesday and never said a word about it. It's our fault, mine included. The door in the bathroom. We laugh about it when we go to the bathroom. We joke about it. We joke about how it stinks back in this corner. But we don't do anything about it. I've been a councilman 14 months. One of the first things I said, sticking up for this police department, was this is a shame that these guys got to go in that bathroom. If you people would go in that police station, if they would let you in there, which I don't think they will, if you go in that police station, it looks like a car wash over there. There's junk everywhere, and it's not their fault. There's no place to put this stuff. We did an emergency ordinance to borrow $8 million here. Greatest thing that ever happened. We fixed all kinds of stuff, but we leave these guys working trash over there. Now, until we admit it, I want to celebrate, I want to talk about the good things. There are some good things going here, but we have to take care of the little stuff. And then rebrand. Deadwood, South Dakota, which I've been there several times, is beautiful, it's a gorgeous place. They're rebranding because they have something beautiful to offer, and they're going out. The downtown revitalization commercial, and I'm going to say this, I hope that they don't get offended. There's a reason why it goes 100 miles an hour. You notice that the commercial, when they're showing it, it whips through town 100 miles an hour because they're not going to slow that down because it's dirty. That's what I'm talking about right there. So what Mr. Massio says is true. I mean, we can celebrate here all day long. We have birthday parties for our kids and we love them, but if they're bad and we don't address their actions, they're going to be monsters and they're going to be dealt with on the street. And that's the same thing with the city. We got to get together and do it. Now, the ordinance was tabled and we're going to talk about it. That's fine. But until we admit that we have a problem, everybody in this room got to admit we got a problem, not just me saying it all the time. I've been here my whole life. There ain't a person in this room prouder than I am of the city of Steubenville. I was born and raised in the South End. I swam in Bailey Park every day. I did every bad thing that a kid did growing up here. I'm proud of this town. I'm proud of my family. We've been here since 1900. I want my grandkids to be here, and I hope they're talking about me someday. But we have to admit we have a problem. Now, we can talk all day long about it, but I just can't. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that branding thing. And I thank Mr. Massio, and I thank these 4 businessmen for coming forward, because that's who we need is them, and that's all.
Your Honor?
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Mr. Baldwin?
Yeah, just a quick point. The city got rid of the custodian position a long time ago. That probably was, and I wasn't here. I don't know what the budgetary problem was. But we got rid of a custodian. That usually is going to add problems to your building. Council, and I appreciate council support, ordinance 2015-1, first ordinance this year, and third reading, we did it. We hired a custodian. That's how you clean a building. Right now, we're paying money to have it cleaned once a week. So I would say that the administration has corrected, or at least taken the direction needed to address that problem of this building. We are looking at a feasibility study. I will remind everyone of that. I don't know, again, how the police department got, that facility got to that condition. Bob, I can't answer. I don't know. Maybe somebody has an answer for that. I'd love to hear it. But what's more important is where we go from here.
I have the answer. I got the answer.
And we have put together a feasibility study, and we're going to make a decision on where is the right direction for our police department, where they're going to be located, and what's going to be the best bang for the buck for our residents. No city manager supports our police department more than I do. And we're going to make the right decision, and we're moving forward. It's not going to be done in a day or whatever, but we are taking the steps necessary to get them in the proper facility that they need to be in to be productive and responsive to our citizens, and I believe we're on the right path. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Mr. Bill Magna?
I want to answer that because I do have the answer. The answer is, because I've been here since 76. When did you get here, Don?
First year of service as a councilman, 81.
Been here since 76. I walk through that door every day for 25 and a half years. It has not changed one bit. I agree with him on one thing. The janitor being let go was a real horrible thing to happen over there. But that being said, the sergeant hasn't been here long enough. The chief was here. We have had studies, we've had conversations, we've had every single person that's been here promised us that we were going to have something done to that police department. And the chief and the captain, not Joe, he's not old enough to remember this, but it hasn't changed one bit. We laugh about where the desk came from when the annex building closed down. the city manager at that time called us and says, come over here and pick up the stuff we're gonna throw away and bring it over to the police station. And we did it because we were pack rats. And I remember saying to myself, well, I'm picking up garbage in a suit and bringing it over here to the police department. But we did that. That's the problem. And I'm not saying that we have to we expedite everything here. We have emergency, after emergency, after emergency. But when it comes to the police, with that building over there, none. That's the answer. I've been here since 1976, so nobody can say that I'm saying this repeatedly. Everybody has promised us that that building was going to be taken care of, and there it sits. That's the answer. And I hope it ends, because I won't sit here and listen to this without answering it.
Mr. Bowman, since you mentioned about the years of service that I have in the state, let me just say that I really take offense to you saying that you are the one that has the most pride in this room.
No, I didn't say
I
that.
have, you said that you, the person with the most pride. I have as much pride as you do and everybody else in this room in faith and confidence in our city.
I said nobody has more than me. That's what I said. You have as much as me. You don't have more than me.
I have no.
Well, I disagree with you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
My name is Joe Summerall, 112 Starkville Road, and I heard you mention that rebranding, and I've been ashing around where I go. And I don't know if they thought that I was against rebranding. I'm not, like Bobby said. But they were going to vote that night when it was 4-3 to have the 3 readings instead of emergency, but we didn't even have a cost. That's what I'm getting. How can you vote on something when you don't even have a cost? All these people that, what they call consultants, I hear that, I've been coming 6 years, and I hear a bunch of them. We pay them, I'd like to know the price, Mr. Bourne, if you could get it, of how many consultants we hire in this city, and what the cost is. I think it's quite large. I'm not against it. I know, but I'm just saying, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I've heard a lot of it over the years that I've been coming. Only 6, I don't have. But I lived in this valley since I was born. So I wasn't against the branding like he said too. But before we vote on anything at council, I think you should know the cost. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Hello, I'm Laura Stavilla, and I live at 295 Bellevue Boulevard. I'm a little flustered because I wasn't planning on saying anything and just got kind of. I just want to say, as far as the branding issue, as someone who came here from out of town and doesn't have the history, I think that when you talk about attracting residents and businesses from other areas to want to settle in Steubenville versus Toronto, Weirville, et cetera, which is something that's on my heart because I want people to move to my neighborhood, I think that our money is best spent and our time is best spent making it a place that has a reputation of observing rules and laws and being safe. Those are the things that make the difference about whether a business wants to stay or not. When we have our water situation under control and affordable, when we don't have a series of news stories about crimes, and I recognize that everybody here in this room spent the night talking about all the very good things they've done over last year to affect these positive changes. So I would say our money, as a resident, as someone who did get attracted to come here, and as someone who's trying to do that, I think the way we rebrand, the way we become attractive is not a logo or a slogan or a campaign, but just actually making this a place that people want to live and do business. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
I'm still Mark Nelson. I still live at 272 County Road 26. I'm one of the 4 elephants in the room, I guess. Well, one of the 4. The only elephant in this particular room about the article. And I want to, I guess, clarify a couple of things. I think there's an important distinction to be made between branding and marketing. And I think the legislation that came through this body the other day, from what I could read in a caption, was bad legislation, and the fact it didn't specify perhaps enough what Mr. Bullen was going after in the campaign or the amount of money. And that would make me nervous about anything. You know, send one of my kids off to buy a car without a budget. It doesn't make good sense from what the caption read. I think that the difference between branding and marketing is the two go together. You can't market and brand something that you don't have. I tried to make an analogy this week to somebody that it's like two trains racing towards the station. You can't have the branding campaign get to the station before the product gets to the station. You have the product there, and it's just going to sit at the station until the branding catches up. So it has to work together. And I think with this process of conversation, the article in the paper, the article, and the conversation that has taken place because of the article in the paper is all part of fleshing out a branding campaign, finding out who we are, citizens getting involved, government getting involved, private business getting involved, in order to figure out who we are and how to move this city forward. We love the city. We all love the city. We all have great pride in the city, or we wouldn't be here tonight spending time here. And it's all part of the process. The water is a process. Dealing with the crime is a process. Figuring out how much money we have to spend on a branding campaign. What a branding campaign is part of the process. Bob brought up Deadwood, South Dakota. If anybody Googles or YouTube's Deadwood, South Dakota, there's an hour-and-a-half video on Deadwood that Jerry Brill and I have been watching about the branding campaign and watching the whole process of what a city goes through. It's free information for an hour and a half. But all of that, I think, is part of the process. So I don't think that any one of the four, I can only speak for myself, but I don't believe that any of the four businessmen are against marketing the city or branding, rebranding the city, or coming up with a new identity. But it's a very large package, I guess, is the best way to explain it. And we want both trains to get there at the same time. I'm all for branding. I told Mr. Metcalf that. I'm all for seriousness. I'm not all about meeting once a month for the next year trying to figure out who we are. We don't need to waste that kind of time. We need to dig in tomorrow, tonight, and do something. And all of us have that responsibility as citizens to contribute, whether we're on that side of this line or on this side of the line, because it's our city. We're the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, I'm going to ask the council chambers to be clear, but I do want to make a quick comment. For about 18 months or so, the city of Steubenville undertook the project of a comprehensive plan for the city of Steubenville, which is basically a roadmap for our future. A lot of great ideas from our citizens, over 18 months, roundtable discussions. It was adopted by the Planning Commission. It was adopted by this council. We are now in the process of the implementation. That is really the first step. As Mr. Nelson pointed out in his little speech here, that branding is a whole concept. It's several steps. It's not looking at a community and identifying its strengths and weaknesses and all. That will also include roundtable discussions with our business owners, with our residents, with community leaders, nonprofit agencies and all. And through this, we highlight the assets that we have in our community. And let me tell you, we have a lot of assets. You know, sometimes we take things for granted. Yes, the article in the paper was a little upsetting to me. And I don't know if I actually agree with that approach of flushing out for a branding message. I think we're starting off with a wrong message. But we do, as it was stated earlier, need to identify our problems and work on those problems. But there is nothing wrong with the community as we identify those problems and those concerns. In tandem, look at our successes. You know, if you look at our community, for example, let alone the road network and all the improvements that we are a destination for healthcare services. We notice in the last 5-6 years in our community that healthcare services are on an uprise. When in the past, it was the steel industry, the pottery industry, and the coal industry. We notice that there's a changing economy. Healthcare services, state-of-the-art cancer center at the Terra Manor Cancer Center. Look how much dollars that Trinity, both east and west, has reinvested in our community. And we even have the 4th Street Health Clinic. But if you go a little further and you look, that we have not only one, but really 3 retail centers. And I'm talking about Mid-City at the Hollywood Shopping Plaza. And this city was so concerned that they invested millions of dollars in a 5th lane. And at that time, we were crucified, taking property, adding a 5th lane and all, but we knew that there was potential. And now the Hollywood Shopping Plaza, both north and south, are full to capacity. There's no vacancies. Further out, the West End, the Fort Steubenville Mall. What a golden asset for a community our size to have a retail center such as the Fort Steubenville Mall. And what we're investing in that area. I know there's some concerns about the growth. The roundabout is one of them, but we're investing into the road improvements also. So when you look at that, and if you look at our recreation facilities in our community, the money that was invested, when we sold, and many of you in this room will remember, a 9-hole asset that the city of Steubenville had, Goat Hill, a golf course, to the Franciscan University for their future dreams. This council chamber was packed with people saying that it was a wrong move. Well, quite frankly, although it's not developed to this point, they have some outstanding and fantastic plans in the future, not only on the golf course, but also on the Green Strip. And we're hoping that that will start taking shape in 2015. And if you would look, our community, although we would be very easy and happy to point to the negative things, there are positive things happening in Steubenville. That's why I'm Steubenville proud. With that, I will now ask the council chambers to be clear so we can move